As I was aggressively informed by my girlfriend's father when I turned up to meet him in a t-shirt that ironically read World's Greatest Love Machine, first impressions count. In fact, you can likely mask over an entire lifetime of mediocrity if you just get off on the right foot. The beauty of football, of course, is that the right foot can literally be your right foot, and using it to make some vital contributions to your team's fortunes before those in the stands even fully know your name can see you idolised for years to come. I'm Adam Cleary, this is 442, and these are the 10 greatest debuts in football history. Number 10, Ronaldo, Real Madrid 2002. 61 seconds, that's all it took for Ronaldo to get off the mark in the white of Real Madrid. If you started listening to Frank Sinatra's My Way when he comes on to replace Javier Portillo in the 64th minute, the big man's not even had regrets, and a few of them by the time Ronaldo's lashed the ball past the Alaves goalkeeper. Not content there though, he later gleefully receives a pass from Steve McManaman of all people for a second, Maka hilariously asking for the ball back after playing him in, before then missing a fairly easy chance to notch a hat-trick. A miss, by the way, he has always asserted was deliberate so as to not set the bar too high for the rest of the season. Very clever. Number 9, Sergio Aguero, Manchester City 2011. 2 goals and an assist for Sergio Aguero, Adam. I don't find that at all impressive. Yeah, alright, fair enough. There were months-long spells during Aguero's time at City where it did sort of feel like he was doing that every single game. But what if I was to tell you that this particular haul came despite him not even muddying his boots until the 59th minute? Yeah, see, pretty good. In a dazzling half-hour cameo, he arrived on the end of a Micah Richards cross for a tap-in, played a blind head-height back pass for David Silva to score, and then just leathered one in from fully 30 yards. Number 8, Alan Shearer, Southampton 1988. A handy reminder to anyone who needs it that football wasn't invented in 1992 here, as the Premier League's record goal scorer was already banging them in 4 years before it even launched. Making his way through Southampton's academy, the Saints saw enough talent in a rosy-cheeked 17-year-old Alan Shearer to give him a full debut against high-flying Arsenal, themselves some 8 games unbeaten. What followed were 3 goals that absolutely scream late 80s British football and come from a combined distance of about 5 very muddy yards. This did also make him the youngest ever scorer of a hat-trick in the English top flight, and that is a record that, much like his statue outside St James's Park, will likely be standing for a very long time. Number 7, Zinedine Zidane, France 1994. Now, if you ever want to discuss the greatest possible contrast between someone's first and last appearance for a club, Zinedine Zidane's France career is probably where that conversation both starts and ends. 18 years before he'd head down the tunnel at the World Cup final with sorrow in his heart and Marco Materazzi's necklace imprinted on his forehead, Zizou arrived off the bench with his country 2-0 down to the Czechs. Immediately looking like someone's much older brother deciding to bully a game in the playground, he weaved his way through 3 players before burying an unstoppable 30-yarder with 5 minutes to go. Not 2 minutes later, he leapt a clear 1.5 feet above everyone else in the box to score a header you would struggle to replicate with a stepladder. A great cameo, thought French football fans, but still surely not enough for him to take captain Eric Cantona's place in the team. Not unless, I don't know, in the next few months he was about to dive boots first into the crowd at Selhurst Park after being sent off against Crystal Palace and receive an enormous domestic and international football ban, but that's not gonna happen. Number 6, Fabrizio Ravanelli, Middlesbrough 1996. Yeah, so Middlesbrough in the mid-1990s feels more like a fever dream than it does actual footballing history. Returning them to the Premier League, Brian Robson decided that the best approach was to bring in some of the most creative, expressive players in world football to a part of the country famous for drowning a chicken cutlet in cheese sauce and 80% of its buildings being made out of corrugated metal. And apologies to any Middlesbrough fans who might take issue with that. I personally really like Parmo, but I'm also crucially not scoring double figures in Serie A and getting modelling contracts off Dior. And the crazy thing is, this policy did actually work. For precisely 1 game. Joining Samba stars like Juninho, Emerson and Robbie Musto was Italian goalscorer Fabrizio Ravanelli, who promptly scored a hat-trick against the mighty Liverpool. Despite them being 4th at one stage, the results then spectacularly fell off a cliff and Borough were promptly relegated back whence they came. Oh well, it was worth a shot. Number 5, Gianluigi Buffon, Parma 1995. You see, great debuts aren't all about scoring goals unless, well, you know, that's your job, and Gianluigi Buffon announced himself on the big stage with a shutout for the ages. Barely 17 years old and only 4 years after converting from an outfield player in the club's academy, he was thrown into the deep end against Carlo Ancelotti's all-conquering Milan side. The game somehow finished completely goalless thanks to Buffon repeatedly frustrating Roberto Baggio, Marco Simeone and Ali Dyer's cousin George Weah. He might have made over 1,000 plus competitive appearances after this and won every single accolade worth winning, but he'll never have forgotten his first. Number 4, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, LA Galaxy 2018. Now what can be said about Zlatan Ibrahimovic's US debut and indeed his entire career that hasn't already been said by the man himself about himself? 3-1 down, at home in the Los Angeles Derby, which is apparently a thing, on comes the great one and MLS is changed forever. 2 minutes in and his presence alone is enough to allow Galaxy to pull one back, but the equaliser could not possibly have been more Zlatan if the ball had been covered in bad tattoos and started referring to itself in the third person.
There's only one Zlatan.
A volley 40 yards from goal that sailed both into the net and into the history books with the same level of vim. His second arrived in suitably dramatic fashion, with the game having ticked into injury time. He somehow outjumped 2 defenders and the goalkeeper to nod in the most dramatic of winners. "You wanted Zlatan," he said in the press conference. "I gave you Zlatan." Number 3, Wayne Rooney, Manchester United 2004. It's a tale as old as time. A once-in-a-generation talent bursts onto the scene with his hometown team, secures a big money move to one of the biggest clubs in the world, but the step up is initially slightly too much for them. Not Wayne Rooney though. Wayne Rooney absolutely took the piss. Noping out of David Moyes' Everton for a pricely 27 million, he arrived at Old Trafford still just 18 years old and promptly put Fenerbahce's head down the toilet. 2 goals in the first half, the second a delightful long ranger, were capped off with a brilliant free kick before his Manchester United career was even 1 hour old. And yeah, okay, he looks like he owns a failing chain of chip shops now, but that night in 2004, no other player in world football looked more exciting. None. Number 2, Erling Haaland, Borussia Dortmund 2020. Getting 2 goals against West Ham in his proper Manchester City debut, because nobody counts the Community Shield, was an impressive start for Erling Haaland. But it was nothing compared to his arrival at Dortmund. With 55 minutes gone, his team's title challenge looked in tatters as they trailed 3-1 to Augsburg. They threw Haaland on, and within 3 minutes he'd halved the deficit with a great strike from a narrow angle. 11 minutes after that, and following an equaliser from Jadon Sancho, he raced through with Thorgan Hazard for a neat tap-in. 9 minutes after that, he burst clear of the defence, doing that big, weird, gangly "look at me, I'm Erling Haaland, I'm a superhuman freak" run, and the turnaround was complete at 5-3. Or to, put that another way, in Erling Haaland's first 20 minutes of German football, he scored a hat-trick with his first 3 shots and only his first 10 touches. He's an alien. He's not normal. Number 1, Alvaro Recoba, Inter Milan 1997. Now, if a time traveller, and just go with me on this, if a time traveller had appeared in the Inter Milan dressing room ahead of this game and told those present that they would go down in the annals of footballing debut history, all eyes would have immediately turned to the 20+ million Brazilian lacing his boots. But Ronaldo's debut is frankly nothing compared to that of his fellow debutant, Alvaro Recoba. Trailing 1-0 to Brescia, the Uruguayan came off the bench and decided to have his own personal goal of the season competition in the half hour that remained. The first, a rasper directly into the Cassonetti Superiori, would have been enough, but the winner 5 minutes from time somehow managed to outdo it. Fully 30 yards from goal, he somehow both bends and wellies a free kick into the one part of the goal the keeper can't reach. I mean, look, he's standing there, he's that side, and he looks about 6 years old when it flies past him. And that's it, that's the video. Thank you so very much for watching and making it all the way till the end. Somebody's keen. While you're here, please do consider subscribing to the 442 YouTube channel. We've got loads of awesome football content dropping all through the week, as well as an amazing library of documentaries, player interviews and performance guides as well. Until next time though, thank you once again for watching. I do hope you enjoyed yourself, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.